Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here, back in Belgrade. It's my second time here. So really excited to be able to talk to you all today about cross-platform and the role that Facebook can play in helping you to grow your business. So this probably doesn't need clarifying, but I know you all think of Facebook as a social network. We talked about how big the audience really is. Facebook is also a huge gaming platform. We have an enormous audience and a very engaged audience, and it's all across multiple platforms and all the devices that people want to play. So just to give you a bit of context, we have now 375 million people playing across devices connected to Facebook in some way or other every month. So again, huge audience. It's a big platform for developers and a platform on which developers can make a lot of money. We had over 100 developers last year make over $1 million each. So again, it's not just one or two developers, it's a broad-based platform, and you as developers can really generate a lot of revenue and growth out of it. And in total players, all those players across all platforms generated and made over $3 billion in in-app purchases last year. So again, it's a big platform, and for developers and players, it's a huge business. So to put that in perspective, if you think about more sort of console and PC platforms, just to give you a sense of the audience, I mean, you think of Steam, there's 75 million accounts on Steam, 80 million Xbox consoles have been sold, and there's 150 million accounts on PlayStation Network. And so if you add those all up, Facebook is still a bigger platform. Obviously a different platform, but again, just to give you a sense of perspective of just how many people are using Facebook in some way or another. And all those players generate a lot of clicks. So again, if you think of if you're building games and you want people to come to your games, we're generating 735 million clicks from Facebook or mobile into games every day. And again, when you think about all the revenue that's being generated, we paid out $2.2 billion to developers last year. So much like many of you, Facebook over the past couple of years has made the move from being a web-first company to really making that transition to being mobile-first. And it's illustrated really when you look at the evolution of revenue from Facebook. This is our quarterly revenue. And you can see, up until 2012, there was no mobile revenue. It was all about PC, and this is one of the big things that we had to do as a business was to really pivot from PC, desktop to mobile. And now in most recent quarters, over 50%, actually 62% of our advertising revenue came from mobile. So again, we've really made that pivot, just like many of you in the audience have made over time. And it's something that we're really focused on as well. And just to reiterate, we have about 1.4 billion people every month accessing Facebook, and over 1 billion of them are accessing Facebook on mobile. So again, that huge engaged audience on mobile, and think about when you're building your games. And when you think about the top 100 iOS and Android games, 95% of them are using Facebook in some way, in some form of integration. So now I want to talk to you a little bit about cross-platform games and gamers, and just some of the trends that we're seeing in the audience, in the market today. So as developers, and frankly as players, what you want to be able to do is, I think it was mentioned in the earlier panel, you want people to be able to play wherever they are on whatever device they're on. I mean, think about it yourself. If you're getting to work in the morning, you're taking the bus, wherever you are, you want to be able to play a quick game on your phone. You arrive, you have a little bit of a break mid-morning or lunch, you want to be able to continue that game and progress on your PC, on your desktop. And then you get home at night and you want to be able to have a longer play session on your tablet. So this is a critical thing and something that's a huge advantage and opportunity for developers, and it's something that we're at Facebook very focused on helping you facilitate with all the tools that we have available. So this is the world of mobile today. It's a series of silos, and very, very big silos, but everyone from Apple to Android to Windows, everyone's focused on really building the best silo they can. They want to build the best platform with the best features to get the most developers and users to be present on their platform. They're not worried about it, and it makes sense for them not to be worried about it. They're not worried about making those platforms interoperable. Their concern is to make the best vertical platform possible. And as a developer, it can be a pretty frustrating experience. It can be hard for you to build games across those platforms. So as an app developer ourselves, we're very focused on this. This is something that we've had to contend with and had to solve. And really, if you think about the different tools that we've built, we have Identity, which is designed to go across all these different platforms. We have developer tools, analytics, and sharing. All these are built because we came from this space ourselves. We are ultimately building mobile apps now. We've mastered this, and we've really spent a lot of time building a set of tools that allow developers to build things across platform. And that's part of the service that we provide for game developers. So we've done some recent studies, again, looking at this trend of cross-platform gaming, because it's a trend you see anecdotally, it's a trend you see everywhere you go, but we wanted to have a look at it and say, how big is this? What are people actually doing? Is it additive? Is it good that people are playing across platforms? Does it ultimately benefit people? And so we did an initial study and looked at all Facebook-connected games, and then we basically measured the engagement of cross-platform players. So the good news, and again, you probably figured this out, is that cross-platform players, once you're playing on multiple platforms, not only do you play more, but you pay more. And they're 2.4 times more engaged on mobile. You're 1.5 times more engaged on Canvas, Canvas is what we call basically the desktop experience on Facebook. And then most importantly, probably, most excitingly if you're a developer, is it's 3.3 times the payment volume. So again, really this is something that it's happening anyway. It's great for players, but it's also great for developers. And the second study, which was motivated by the first, is we wanted to look over a period of time at how did play patterns change when people actually started playing cross-platform. So what we first looked at is we looked at when a mobile player comes to Facebook Canvas, what happens. So once they start playing cross-platform, you actually see a 40% increase engagement on mobile and Canvas, and if they stay mobile only, you actually see a slight decrease in engagement. So again, this is proving this concept that you want people to be playing on as many platforms as they possibly can. And again, the same holds true if you're thinking about Canvas players who are coming from desktop to mobile. And this is one you might not necessarily think of, because you hear a lot of people when they make the transition to mobile, but what you do see is there's an increase in cross-platform engagement by 21% when people come to mobile from Canvas. And again, if they just stay on Canvas, you see a decrease of 10%. So again, really all these trends are continuing to prove and show that the more platforms you can make your game available on, the better it is for you and better it is for the players. So now I want to touch on an example of a developer from Eastern Europe who's been really, really successful. So Progress Stars, you've probably seen Throne Rush has been a very successful game. It's on mobile and it's on Facebook. I just want to touch on a little bit of sort of the timeline in terms of how the game grew and launched. So it launched in October 2013 on Facebook. And again, right out of the gate, saw very, very strong initial growth. There's 100% month-over-month revenue growth every month, which is a great story. It's really very, very positive. What happened is in February, Throne Rush actually integrated Facebook login in their mobile game, and then they were able to sync up the two experiences. Previously, the two had been separate, and they used Facebook as a way to allow players to continue to progress across platform. And what we saw at this point was great. So Canvas DAUs, again, per the study, were up by 25%. And we also saw 4.5 million new users into Throne Rush in the first month. So again, really, really great growth, and the growth starts to accelerate. And then you saw by summer of this year, 4 or 5 months later, they'd gotten to a point where the game had 9 million MAUs across platform, and it was generating $100,000 across both mobile and Canvas. So again, amazing growth story, and again, further illustrates this point that you want to really be everywhere you can and on all the platforms you can. And just in terms of some further data points, so Throne Rush, Next was very kind to share this, but retention on multiple platform players is 3 to 4 times higher. Again, so really, really, really helpful both for retention and then also for monetization. You see the number of paying users is 4 times higher when you're looking at cross-platform players versus single-platform players. And they're now seeing about 20% of their distribution on mobile coming from Facebook today. So shifting gears slightly, I wanted to talk a little bit about developers who started on Facebook Canvas, because it's something that, again, like ourselves, we have a lot of long-term partners who started building games on Facebook Canvas and have since brought their games to mobile. And again, what we've seen is that if you can have a successful game on Facebook Canvas, you're highly likely to have a successful game on mobile. And in fact, 1/3 of the top grossing games, when I was looking recently on Google Play Store in the US, started on Facebook Canvas. So again, this is games from Candy Crush, which you may have heard of, Slotomania, but again, all different genres. Zynga Poker, all of these games started on Facebook Canvas and are now integrated cross-platform. Top 11, one of your hosts for the event is a great example of this as well. And I don't know how many of you have played the game, hopefully lots, but it's very, very really tightly synced cross-platform experience, and you know you need to be online in some way, or shape, or form when the game's actually happening. And then another great example from me, Dragon City, also illustrating this point. So that may not be that surprising, because it's a historical thing. A lot of people started on Canvas and started on desktop and have followed the users to mobile. What we've seen more recently, which I think is actually even more interesting, is we're starting to see mobile-first developers, so people who've started out more recently of just building their games direct to iOS and Android. They're starting to bring their games back to Facebook Canvas and starting to see that that's actually beneficial as well. So this is just a quote. This is a game called Cookie Jam, built by SGN in the US. And a month after they launched the game on Canvas, they actually saw a 50% increase in revenue. And we're starting to see more and more examples of this. I think as the mobile environment becomes more and more competitive, people are really seeing the opportunity to extend their reach and extend their revenue by coming to Facebook. And we continue to see a great mix of games from big brands. Anything from Marvel, Avengers, Candy Crush Soda, which just launched on Facebook first, actually, and is succeeding and doing very, very well. Another example of a game that started on mobile, Glue Mobile, who are very, very successful, top developer. I think Kim Kardashian was mentioned in the last panel, but again, talking about IP, but also talking about a game built for mobile that's recently come to Canvas in a connected experience. So again, when you're thinking about games on Facebook, you might be thinking about crushing candies, tending your farm, whatever it is. But there's actually a very, very broad range of games and categories that succeed on Facebook. And just looking at this distribution, you can see social casino, everything from Bingo Blitz to Slotomania. All those games really, really prosper and are very, very popular with the Facebook audience. We also have the strategy category is really, really successful. People like Plarium and others are building great businesses both on Facebook and elsewhere. And so you can really see there's a broad mix of games. So again, if you think of the size of the audience we have, there's really an audience for every type of gamer. And I just want to touch on this just because Eastern Europe and Russia is one of the kind of more dynamic regions for us in terms of the developer community. We have lots and lots of developers who are building games for Facebook, and I just wanted to call it a couple of them, and other developers who've really been succeeding building on Facebook. Plarium, who are based in Israel, but again, an example of a real mid-core strategy title. They now have 4 titles that are in the top grossing on Facebook, Sparta being the most recent, and again, an example of a different genre and a developer in EMEA who's really succeeding on Facebook. And then moving slightly closer to home, Visor Interactive, based in Minsk. Klondike is an amazing simulation game, and another example of a category you thought this might be a hard place to be given the success of Farmville over the years, but these guys are doing an amazing job. It's a really, really high quality game, and again, succeeding. It's in the top 50 grossing on Facebook now. Another great example. See, there we go, perfect. Good thing I had that one in there. So Super City, again, another great, over 1 million MAUs, top 75 grossing. So again, this is another category, city building. It's a category you would think that has been well served, but again, an example, if you have a quality game and you build a strong experience, you can really you can really succeed on Facebook today. And again, we're continuing to see more and more developers from this part of the world bring their games to Facebook and building out ultimately cross-platform. Island Experiment by Nextra is just launched actually very recently, and then Tower Defense is another very, very innovative, high-quality game. Tower Defense with cows, so I encourage you to check them both out. So now I've talked a little bit about cross-platform and some of the trends that we're seeing on Facebook. I'd like to tell you a little bit about some of the tools that we make available in terms of the different ways we can help you first to build, then to grow, and then ultimately to monetize your application or your game. So when I'm talking about build, I'm talking about a number of different things. Obviously, there's the Facebook Canvas experience, which has a full suite of services, but I'm going to focus more on the mobile side and look at some of the different features and services that we provide to you as developers to help build great mobile apps. So first, I want to touch on Parse. Parse is a company we acquired about 1.5 years ago, and they provide a full suite of back-end services that allow you really to build a great game. And again, the key for you is think about, you want to focus on building the best game possible, get to market, and get the game out there. You don't want to worry about hosting and back-end solutions, and Parse is a great way for you to be able to really focus on the great game. When we talk about Parse, we're talking about really 3 big things, three sort of buckets of product. One is Parse Core. Parse Core is really true like back-end services, data hosting, everything that that really has to do with server architecture. So again, you can focus on the front end of the game. Parse Push is, again, an easy way to do cross-platform push notifications. Works very well, again, simplifies your life as a developer. And then Parse Analytics, which is, again, a complete analytics suite, which, again, you can use and is very cost-effective. So I encourage you to check these out. There's a whole bunch of information online, and a great way for you to get started is that either if it's a new app you're building or if you're starting your company. And this is just to give you a sense of the broad mix of companies who are using Parse today. Everything from industrial giants, electronics giants like Samsung, to top 11 are using. There's a very, very broad range from super small game developers to banks like Barclays. So again, broad range of services, broad range of clients in place. Now I want to touch on Facebook login. Again, this is something that you've probably seen a million times in games you've played, but this is really a great way for you to add social context to your game, and it's a very easy way for you to do that. And depending on the type of game you have, this may be everything from leaderboards to a progression mechanic, which I've seen in Candy Crush and every other game that has that sort of saga style. This really gives you the easy context to see, hey, I've beaten my friends, I'm progressing. It's also a really easy way to sync cross-platform, as I mentioned in the Throne Rush example. Again, this allows you for all the players who are Facebook connected, that you can actually sync across platform and allow players to progress in a very simple way. Next, I wanted to touch on Facebook SDK, specifically for Unity. This is something we spent a lot of time on last year. I know a lot of you are building in Unity now. Again, a really great way to build a cross-platform, particularly across both mobile platforms. So we've done a lot of work to actually integrate our SDK with Unity. And so essentially, you can benefit from all the rich development features of Unity and then easily plug in Facebook. We've actually just launched a similar integration with Cocos 2D, which we just announced a couple weeks ago. And again, another rapidly growing development environment. So again, things to think about and ways we're trying to help make the development experience easier for you. So you've built this amazing game. You're ready to go to market. How do you find those customers? How do you find people who are going to both play in your game and then hopefully ultimately pay in your game? So we have two big types of ways that we can help you to grow your game and find that audience. We have a bunch of tools that are organic tools, so essentially anything from sharing to other things that will help you grow your game, and then there's a bunch of paid solutions as well, which again can help you find those quality users in a cost-effective way. So touching on organic first and foremost, wanted to just mention, again, I think a lot of you have probably seen this in games. We have a number of different ways that you can share your progress. Again, great and easy way for you to both to acquire new users, but also to re-engage those players who are already in the game. And it's the perfect example is you've just leveled up, you want to share your progress, all your friends will see that, and then they're more likely to come back to the game. We also have the App Center, which is available both on desktop and mobile. Great place, again, it's a repository of all the games for those engaged gamers. You want to make sure you have a presence there so that people can see which are the newest games. You can provide a video and all sorts of related content. And then Request is another great cross-platform tool which works, again, from mobile to desktop. If you have a game enabled on both, I can send an invite to my friend. They can come play the game. I can request help. It's one of the easy-to-use tools that can really help, particularly in more social genres of games. So again, you know this story, and this is the challenge that everyone faces in the development community on mobile is, there are over 1 million apps on Google. There are over 1 million apps on iOS. How do you get noticed, and how do you find those users? And this is, again, this really is the crux of the matter. This is the challenge. And so one of the things that we did to try to help solve this problem is we introduced mobile app ads. And this has been, as you can see, it's a full-screen native ad that's within the Facebook newsfeed on mobile. And it's proven to be really, really successful. And we now have we've driven over 350 million installs since the launch of the service. And 60% of the top grossing apps on both platforms are using mobile app ads to help grow their business and find those users. And a couple of things that make these really compelling. One is the demographics. This is one of the unique features. You're actually able to target specific types of users and from different countries and different ages. Obviously, you can target across a mobile. We also have custom audiences and lookalike audiences, which I'll touch on, which are really, really targeted ways for you to acquire those super high-value users. So custom audiences, I think this is one of the really unique features that we have on Facebook that allows you, again, to really find the highest value users you want to bring to your game. So essentially, the way this works is if you think about maybe you have a bunch of payers or you have a bunch of highly engaged players. Essentially, you have people who you know are valuable to you. And what we do is essentially we match those users, whatever information you have, email, whatever it is, with our pool in Facebook and essentially find out the overlap of those. And so we can then allow you to effectively directly target that high-value user base. And so there's no wastage. You're targeting super high-value customers who you know are actually going to monetize or engage or whatever the metric is that you're most concerned about. And then a companion product to this is lookalike, which is essentially saying, hey, this custom audience, these are the people you care about. We can take all the characteristics about those people and effectively use a whole bunch of different variables in Facebook and figure out users who are most likely and look most like this audience. And again, allow you to target those, and these have proven really effective for developers. And then one other thing that's great that we launched over the summer is device targeting. So Game of War, hugely successful game. What they've done is they found that certain devices are more valuable than others. So they found a certain Samsung, high-power Samsung is the one where they maybe get the most value or have the highest value users, so they can target just that audience if they want. And so that, again, allows you really to be efficient in acquiring users and finding the people who are most likely to pay and play. And we have a similar service on desktop. So again, it's an ad in the news feed designed specifically to get people to play your game. And again, all the same targeting applies. It's, again, really powerful way to get people into your game. And another Nordeus example, this is coincidental. We also have a service which you can buy ads that will allow you to re-engage your user base. So again, people who've been playing your game previously, you can target them and bring them back into your app and play. And Nordeus really saw great results with this 500% return on their ad spend with this. So I should just call out, we have Oksana, who I don't think is here yet, but one of my colleagues who will be speaking in more detail on all the marketing elements tomorrow at 1. So I encourage you to check that out. I think it's in the other room. And Igor is also here from the team. So I'm happy to introduce you to them, or again, check out Oksana's talk to learn a lot more about the Facebook marketing, all the different marketing tools. So in terms of monetizing, again, this is, you've built this amazing game. You now hopefully have got a bunch of users coming into it. How do you actually make money? Which is, again, ultimately one of the challenges in you're building a company. You want to make sure you can grow revenue. So this is something we've launched relatively recently, which is it's an ad format which is specifically designed for developers to allow you to actually promote something and drive a transaction directly from the news feed. So a person doesn't even have to be in the game, and what you can do is this can be highly targeted. You don't need to have it targeted in the game. You can say, hey, I want to do a promotion to payers who haven't paid for 2 weeks and give them a special offer, or whatever the segment you're interested in doing. And it's been really powerful because you can actually the user can purchase the virtual good inline. So there's a pop-up that comes up and they can actually transact directly from there. And Kickstarter saw amazing return on this. And again, this is a really powerful way, again, once you have those players, to figure out how you can help monetize them. There's something else that, App Events is another great feature that we have, which is, it's essentially, a bit of code you can basically put into your mobile app, and it allows you to log a whole bunch of different features and actions that users take. So again, it's a companion to analytics, and it's very specific and customizable. You have, as you can see, there's about 14 predefined metrics which you can track. It's really easy. And the great thing is with this that you can get a better sense of what's happening in your game throughout, from everything from, did my user complete the tutorial? What was their first transaction? So it's everything, both monetization, but also engagement analytics. And this also really helps you because this is directly tied into all of our advertising platforms. So again, you can understand exactly what's happened, and it allows you to buy ads accordingly. What we've also been doing, this is a big area of focus for us right now, is really the Insights product. We've had an Insights product for a long time. We've revamped it recently. We're continuing to expand on it. The most recent thing we've done is we've added cohorts. So again, you can see, say you get an editorial feature and you drive a lot of new traffic in, or you've added something to your game, and you want to see what's happened. You can actually look by cohort, by day, at what's happened to the retention of your different users. So again, this is something we didn't previously have, and so we're really, really trying to make the information as granular as possible so that you can understand exactly what's happening and make intelligent decisions as a result of that. So this is a great example. Again, if you can really look at that insights information and then start to figure out how you retarget your users. If you've seen users dropping out at a certain point, or you see users who are highly valuable, you can actually create specific ad formats to drive users back into the game and actually take them to the part of the game you want them to play in. So again, really, it's all about trying to provide as many features and as many different tools, particularly in the insight space, to help you optimize your game and grow your business. So the last thing I wanted to talk about was the audience network, which is something that we announced at F8, which is our big developer conference in April of last year. And essentially, it's a great way for, if you're an advertiser, for you to essentially extend the reach of your advertising campaign. And if you're a developer, it's a great way for you to generate extra revenue from your app. Because what you're essentially doing is you're taking Facebook advertising and bringing it into your app, which again gives you all the power that I've talked about in terms of all the targeting, all the really, really compelling, effective advertising solutions. And so if you're an advertiser, it just gives you more reach. And we're working very hard, and we're expanding the pool of partners who we work with. And then, as I said, from a developer standpoint, you think of the 98% of people who probably aren't paying in your app today through in-app purchases. This is a great way to have them start to generate revenue for you in a targeted fashion. So we have native ads, which again, you can integrate specifically into your game in the format that's most effective for you. We also have banner ads and interstitial ads, again, so you can get started easily and start to really scale and generate more revenue from your app. So I just want to close by, kind of, as a quick wrap up, with 3 things for you to think about today. So the first is really, again, think about building cross-platform with Facebook and Parse SDKs. They're great ways for you to facilitate that experience and make it easier and better as you start to build and really try to reach as many players as you can. Again, think about app events. This is really, really easy, and it's a really powerful tool that allows you to have more insight into what's happening in your game and what players are doing. And then lastly, think about the audience network and really sign up, think about how you can help monetize your game and really, really expand the revenue mix that you have. So that's all I have. Thank you. I'm happy to take any questions. You had a question. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You said there is 350 million app install based on the advertisement.
Yeah.
Facebook ad, my experience with Facebook ad is that you pay per impression. So is there a new mode where you pay per app install?
There are different ways to buy. I should probably defer to Igor or Oksana, but it's that you can buy on a CPM basis. You can buy. There's different ways to do it. Okay. But I'd suggest I can connect you with Igor after, who works in the marketing team, who can help you with that.
And actually, I have a second question now that you bring up Parse. Since Facebook acquisition, and Facebook is used to providing services to developers which are free. Infrastructure and SDK and so on. Is Parse one of these free elements, infrastructure?
It's the way the pricing is structured. It's free up until a certain volume.
Okay. Same as before.
But we've changed the tiering is much different. So it's free for longer. Let's put it that way.
Oh,
it's very cost effective. But yeah, there's still a pricing tier, but it's pretty generous.
What CPM can we expect from the audience network?
That's a good question. We're hoping to be very competitive. Developers are happy so far, but it's not something we can disclose.
Can you give some kind of range or something?
Again, it obviously depends on the app and the market and everything else. So it's again something that we're not sharing publicly.
Hi. My interest is how is a Facebook plugin for Unity connected? Can you build a game in Unity and it will work in Canvas, or it's just for promotion, like it buttons and other things?
It's designed so that you can also build your game for Canvas as well. Yeah, we're all still in a world where you need the plugin if you're working on desktop, but obviously again, that's continuing to evolve. And I know Unity, we're working closely with them, but yeah, you can bring your game to Canvas as well.
Hello, my name is Özgür. I would like to ask you about we are using currently the Unity SDK for Facebook. Yeah. It's going quite well. The thing is that we are hearing that Google Chrome will be canceling Unity plugin, and is that a real rumor or?
I mean, we're working closely with Unity and with all the different browsers. I mean, obviously the ultimate goal will be WebGL, which I think will put everyone in a good place. But I can talk to you after if there's a specific question around that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Okay, everyone, there will be an hour break for lunch from noon to 1, and then we continue with the sessions.